one of the all-time favorite shows.
Welcome to What the Phobia. I am your host, the creepy journalist. Hey, you. Yeah, you. Welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Today's mania for the 31 Days of Mania. Arithmomania, a mental disorder that may be seen as an expression of obsessive-compulsive disorder. For those of you that don't know, obsessive-compulsive disorder is also known as OCD. So, individuals suffering from this disorder have a strong need to count their actions or objects in their surroundings. Now, I do this subconsciously. Okay, this is a little confession time for me, but especially in middle school and high school, I used to always count the tiles in the ceiling of the classroom. It's not that it would bother me when I couldn't count them at any one class, but whenever I found myself doing it, I just couldn't stop. I had to find out. I had to do the mathematics. I would separate the room into quadrants. I would mentally take steps to figure out how big the room is, to figure out how many tiles are inside of that particular classroom. I never really got an exact number. The highest I ever think I got in any one particular classroom was an average between like 700 to like 1,000 tiles. Now, this is just an average, is obviously a big average there, but I never got it, and it frustrates me. But I find myself also counting my steps. For example, if I'm in my car and I'm walking home, I have an idea more or less of how many steps it takes for me to get from my car to home. Depending on where I parked outside will depend on how many steps more or less I'm going to be taking. It's been anywhere between 300 to 600 steps, depending on how far away I park. For example, like even when I'm brushing my teeth, most people say you have to do it by a couple minutes not a couple minutes at a time, but there's supposed to be a number of minutes that you're supposed to brush your teeth. For me, I don't really count. I feel like that takes forever. I don't do a timer, I should say. I count anywhere between 400, 600 brushes. It sounds like a lot, but honestly, it's a toothbrush. Pretty small. Pretty quick to move. What else? What else do I count? What else do I count? I'm trying to think. If I'm speaking to someone, I realize that I count how many times they say the word like. When I listen back to the audio that I recorded on any particular episode, I listen to how many times I say you know, or alright, or like, or the word or my ums. For those of you that recorded, you know that you say a lot. There's all those fillers that huh, that happens a lot, and I tend to count. Usually I don't get anywhere past about 20 ums, or 20 any one of those fillers in between any of my episodes. But usually I don't really do too much editing anyways, so I try to keep that in the front of my mind before actually having to edit it out later. In pop culture, everybody knows the Count in Sesame Street. Alright, and every time Homeboy comes up, you always hear him counting, followed by his infamous there is some folklore in regards to vampires that if you ever come across a vampire, and this is honestly something I learned through learning about Arithmomania, that you are supposed to grab sugar or salt or rice, whatever it may be, that's small, and you're supposed to throw it in front of the vampire. Very unorthodox compared to the normal steak through the heart, the garlic, all that bullshit. This is just a trip because apparently Sesame Street knows something that we don't. Sesame Street knows that vampires, like the Count, have an obsession, arithmomania, if you will. And so if they are thrown sugar, salt, anything that's tiny in that sense, they will literally stop to pick up every one piece and every grain, just so they can count it. Count Von Count, man. That's it's one thing to try to fight a vampire, it's another to force them to to pick shit up, and that's just mean. I don't think you should do the Count like that. But I mean, hey, it is what it is. We also see in pop culture like the X-Files in the episode called Bad Blood, where again somebody had some seeds in his hand and threw them in front of a vampire because he had this idea that if they throw it in front of the vampire is going to be distracted trying to count all these seeds, and this person was able to escape in that particular episode. But man, who would have thought that vampires, immortal creatures, would be so stupid enough to have to stop and count? Hey, but that's arithmomania for you, Let's talk about me. I'm just thinking about everything that I count on a daily basis. I count how many times I chew. Depending on, I used to have braces, so everything that I eat now, even though I don't have braces anymore, it's still in small chunks, so I don't chew more than 15, 20 times. I'm not gonna chew my gum and how many times I chew it. That's too much, way too much. I have no idea how many times I chew gum. Maybe some people develop arithmomania like that, through small chunks at a time. I personally don't think I have arithmomania, but I do have a tendency to count things. Maybe I have a little mild case of arithmomania. I don't know. I'm not a psychologist, and I'm not gonna self-diagnose myself right now. Man, I count a lot. Maybe I am an arithmomaniac. Anyways, arithmomania. Do you find yourself counting things or not? Some people are probably like me and they do it without thinking. They just start counting how many lights there are in any building. How many times somebody swishes their spoon around in a cup of coffee. Or in this case, how many times somebody says while they record an episode for their podcast. Let me know if you are an arithmomaniac. I want to know, what do you count without thinking? Alright guys, let's get this show on the road with the 31 Days of Manias. I will see you on the next one. Stay creepy, my friends.